Preseason game one is in the books as the Jaguars lose to the Cleveland Browns by a score 23-13. Now, I want to start out this video by saying that the most important thing that could have happened this game pretty much happened, and that is that Trevor Lawrence did not get hurt. And not only Trevor Lawrence, but any of these other real starting caliber players, none of them got hurt at all. So that is good that we have a clean injury sheet when it comes to that front. Now, looking at Trevor Lawrence I thought was all right. He wasn't exceptional, but he wasn't, subpar. I think he was really right along line with all the different rookie quarterbacks that played this week. I don't think any of them really separated from each other. I think that they all kind of played about the same. And also, Trevor Lawrence only had 2 drives, so it really doesn't give you a lot of time to really get into the feel of the game and get warmed up and all that stuff. And then once you get a couple throws under your belt, you're all of a sudden pulled. So at this game, Trevor Lawrence was 6 for 9, which is a 67% completion percentage, and he threw for 71 yards. He took 2 sacks. The first sack was almost fumbled. He did recover it back. So I don't know if that was whether he was holding the ball too long or whether there was no receivers getting open downfield. But I know the first play, really, the whole entire offensive line really converged on him. Also, he had a couple of good third down throws to Marvin Jones for completions. His best throws came on third down. One was an out route. One was the highlight where he threw a deep one over to Marvin Jones after the offensive line really left them a clean pocket. He had a couple of bad throws, and this is one thing that I remember seeing when I went to the training camp last week was, sometimes his throws to the left, like short throws to the left, can be a little bit errant, and that's exactly kind of what happened this game. He had one where he overthrew Carlos Hyde, and another where I believe it was Laviska Shenault that he kind of overthrew. So we got to keep watching out for those throws to the left, really the short throws to the left, and hopefully he can get better at those ones. And also, yeah, like I said, his best play came on a 35-yard pass play to Marvin Jones. So all in all, I mean, Trevor Lawrence was good. I thought he needs to get the ball out quicker because some of them he's holding the ball for. Now, like I said, we don't know if the receivers are getting separation. That's one thing that we probably won't ever know until like Urban Meyer or whatever kind of says in the media, because I really doubt that there's going to be all 22 film coming out of this where we can see the whole entire thing. Also, hopefully next game he plays longer against the Saints. I don't know how it works this year. Usually, there's 4 preseason games, and the first 2 games you kind of run out there. Then game 3, you really start game planning. I don't know if that's going to be pushed ahead, where week 2 now is going to be where you play like a whole half plus a drive in the third quarter, and then the final game, the third game, is where you're going to rest the starters. We're still yet to see on that, but it is going to be a primetime game, Monday Night Football, next Monday. So a week from tomorrow, we're going to get that game. And, all in all, like I said, more accurate to the left. Now, a big overall takeaway also is that, we look at Trevor Lawrence and we feel like he's an 8-year vet. We feel like he's already won an NFL MVP and that, he's the greatest player out there. But he is still just a rookie, and we have to remember that bar. I know he's been a great generational talent. I know that all the praise that he's been getting and that he's really the reason for any hope for the Jaguars. But like I said, he's a rookie, so let's, continue to work with him and all that stuff. Now, the starting offensive line this game was bad. And I think, a lot of this stuff, like, we shouldn't be overreacting to a lot of stuff. But this, might need some overreaction, or at least some reaction, is that the offensive line for the Jaguars, the starting O-line, was kind of getting worked by the backup defensive line for the Browns. They allowed 3 sacks this game, 2 on Trevor Lawrence, 1 on Gardner Minshew. And, the tackle play wasn't very good, especially with Jawaan Taylor. And honestly, like, it's different if we have a veteran safety back there and he's like struggling a little bit, but we want to give him some time before we put the backup in, before we put the rookie in. But, in the case of the offensive line, we absolutely need our best 5 players out there, and we might need to start giving Walker Little some starting reps at right tackle because, like I said, Trevor Lawrence is one play away from suffering a season-ending Joe Burrow type of injury, and we need to make sure he has the best protection possible. Walker Little looked really good this game. I know it was against, some third stringers and whatnot, but I do think that Walker Little deserves some looks at potentially a starting spot when it comes to week 1. If it's not at the left tackle, maybe over at the right tackle, as Jawaan Taylor needs to improve. Now, some other takeaways from the offense. Laviska Shenault showed off his strength on a couple of short throws where he had some, yards after contact, which was good. Marvin Jones, a couple of big third down receptions, one on a 3rd and 9, one on a 3rd and 10. Really good throw and catches from Trevor Lawrence over to Marvin Jones on critical downs. Also, another thing was Travis Etienne, our first round pick, had no first string reps. It was really only James Robinson and James Robinson and Carlos Hyde kind of splitting those reps, which I thought, maybe he should have gotten some looks, whether it be at like slot wide receiver or maybe in a backfield with them, but he didn't get any looks. Also, Gardner Minshew was bad. He was 4 for 8 for 47 yards, 1 interception, and just a couple of errant throws, which overall just weren't very good. So that's kind of what I had to say about the offense. I'm not going to go into like the CJ Beathard and the Taven Austins out here just because I don't think those guys are going to have any impact on the Jaguars this season, so I'm just going to kind of skip over that. But CJ Beathard, I thought, played all right. Now, the defense. I first want to highlight CJ Henderson. CJ Henderson played great this game, 2 pass breakups from what I saw. And let's be honest, man, when CJ Henderson is out there playing good and he's at his top of his game, he is the best defensive back the Jaguars have. He's just the most skilled. He's got the most talent. And it was good to see him out there playing well. And, especially just after a rough, really just off season for him, from the groin injury to the shoulder injury onto like the COVID issues and, Urban Meyer kind of putting them on an exercise bike right next to the team and then, excusing himself from the team for personal reasons. The Jaguar fans had good reason to be a little bit sketched out by the whole thing. But, he came back. It looks like he came back in a pretty good way. And, hopefully week 1, the starting lineup is CJ Henderson and Shaquille Griffin on the outside with Tyson Campbell kind of playing the nickel. Hopefully that's kind of the look. And I think that would be a pretty good passing defense for sure. I will say the run defense was really good. The whole entire game, they only gave up 29 yards rushing, so both the starting and the backups were good when it comes to defending the run. The pass defense was not so good. 304 total passing yards the Cleveland Browns had, and a lot of it was kind of annoying. It was like all this just quick slants and quick out routes and just stuff that it was all under. But I mean, they were completing them. They were getting their they were converting on 3rd downs, and that's something that we need to continue to work on, man. The pass rush needs to start getting home, and these guys were covered. I mean, I thought Shaquille Griffin, Tyson Campbell, and CJ Henderson all played pretty good games, but the only thing was they were just they just didn't get in there quite enough. But I will say the balls that went deep, they were contested. Whether it be Shaquille Griffin or CJ Henderson down the sidelines, even Tyson Campbell, there was a touchdown let up on him where he needs to find a ball better, which was one of his weaknesses in college. He was always around the ball, but just really couldn't get his hands on the ball enough. Really limited turnovers when it comes to his college career. But he needs to kind of turn his head around and get his eye on the ball a little bit better. And hopefully that's a coaching lesson that we can get out of him. So those were some notes on the defense. Like I said, next week, we're going to have a test. We're going to be able to see both Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston at quarterback, and it's going to be a cool test for the Jaguars for sure. Now, special teams, Lambeau was 0 for 1 on the day. He missed a 47-yarder in the stadium, and Josh Lambeau has never missed a regular season kick inside of TIAA and missed one here today. So I don't know. Josh Lambeau is having a little bit rough of a camp from what I've seen. I mean, I remember going to a practice and him missing several right in front of Urban Meyer. So hopefully he's all good. We know he's usually automatic, but they did cut Rosas, and he's the only kicker on the roster right now. So he is definitely a shoe into the roster, but hope to see some better things out of him. And the first 2 returns that the Jaguars had were called back due to penalties. So we got to clean that up. Made us start off in kind of bad field position for the starting offense. Now, some takeaways from this, some things I want to see is really the next time there's media availability. I don't know when the next time Urban Meyer is going to speak, whether it's Monday or Tuesday. We need to announce Trevor Lawrence as a starter going forward. We need to get him all the first team reps. We should no longer play around with this game of Gardner Minshew versus Trevor Lawrence. I mean, CJ Beathard outperformed Gardner Minshew. We all know what Gardner Minshew is. He's extremely limited, and then, quite frankly, to me, I'm going to kill for this, but he's not that good. Gardner Minshew is not that good. Trevor Lawrence, far superior, just has way more good traits than Gardner Minshew. And, we need to stop with this charade. It needs to be full speed ahead when it comes to getting Trevor Lawrence comfortable with the starting offense and, getting him some good synergy around with the wide receivers and the offensive line and stuff like that. And just going into the Saints game, we need, especially when we start game planning, I would expect Trevor Lawrence to be announced as a starter. So next game, Monday Night Football game against the Saints. Hopefully we get into a better groove when it comes to the starters playing more. Like I said, only 2 drives. It sucks that they only get 2 drives of starters, this last game, because it's just such a because usually we evaluate these things and, we see them over the course of 4 quarters, but now we're looking at 2 Trevor Lawrence drives and treating it like a whole entire game. But hopefully we, like I said, it's a first half and then start of the third quarter type of thing next game. And, like I said earlier, we're not going to overreact to this, but I will say that it was concerning when it comes to the offensive line kind of getting worked by the backup D-line for the Browns. So got to see some better stuff out of that. And yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was fun to watch Trevor Lawrence in a Jaguars uniform for the first time. And those were some of my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, man, go Jags. You guys watching the whole video, really appreciate that. You guys can subscribe to the channel for the best source of Jaguars news on the YouTube platform. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at UCF_Jaguar. And you can become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month for exclusive channel content. Thank you guys, and go Jags.